7 days, just 7 days. Spring game, Memorial Stadium. Let's go.
You are Locked On Huskers, your daily podcast on the Nebraska Cornhuskers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey gang, DP here. Thank you for making Locked On Huskers your first watch and listen each and every single day. And for you everydayers, thank you for making Locked On Huskers a part of your morning. First thing every day. You guys join us, and it is appreciated. I want to thank you folks from FanDuel Sportsbook, the official sportsbook of the National Basketball Association and of Locked On. Now, if you go to FanDuel, some of you folks are, you're capable. Download the app. It's safe. It's secure. That's the fun way to go through this thing. But otherwise, you can just go to FanDuel.com/lockedon for details and perks to what's going on there. It's 7 days to spring game 2023 for University of Nebraska, and the curiosity of, well, what can be expected for this Huskers football team? There will be tens of thousands of fans. I'm not sure what the recent count is on ticket sales, but I would imagine that it's above 50, and that there's going to be just a ton of folks there who, the weather's good, that they're going to look forward to seeing Nebraska football and the new version of Nebraska football under Coach Matt Rhule and this coaching staff. And with that, there are a lot of curiosities that are in place. So, of course, this episode, I want to talk about one from the fan expectation, right? The fan expectation of what to look for. What are they excited about? What are you excited about when it comes to this version of Nebraska football? And a lot of it, in this first piece, I want to focus in on a lot of this is curiosity, because media has seen snapshots and social media type clips, small samples, and then we report on what we see, more truthfully what we're allowed to see. And then it becomes a matter of gathering information from various sources. In my case, it would be players on the team, of what's going on when we can't look. And I want to be clear and honest in that I talk to players. And for anybody that's surprised by that, I'm sorry, but this is really a thing. And so what I want to hear from them is, what's the vibe? What's the energy level? How much are they learning? Where do they stand? Are they happy? Are they satisfied? And then in some cases, you're talking to parents who are reporting what is being reported to them. And a big part of the journey of getting through spring practice and trying to share, as much information as possible, is that it's fluid, because the lead story on Monday is not the lead story on Thursday. There's a different thing. There's a different vibe, and you're dealing with injuries. You're dealing with player-coach relationships. You're dealing with the transfer portal. You're dealing with academics. Students, go on break, they come back, they've got to get their work done, and then the evaluation that is. Spring practice and the spring game is a locator. That's what spring practice is. It is absolutely 100% an opportunity for players, coaches, fans, and administrators to find out exactly what is the location of this football team this year. The program will move itself and will carry it from spring game to the regular season. But now is a matter of, okay, here's where we are, and this is what we have to work with. And they're getting to see these players for the first 15 practice days. And, Saturday is a big day. April 15th is a big day when it comes to Nebraska football, because that's the real locator for Nebraska football. What we see and what you see April 22nd, next Saturday, is not as important as what these coaches and these players witness and go through Saturday, April 15th. Because Saturday, April 15th, they're going to get buck wild in the stadium. They are going to look, this is the great measuring stick. This is when the seeding sort of happens and the depth chart that doesn't exist actually formulates and has to be put into operation. And then it becomes a matter of, okay, from a player standpoint, they get a better idea and a clearer image of who they are in this program, where they stand in the program, what amount of work they've done, whether that work has landed, whether the installs have been effective. Remember, that you're teaching, educating, coaching, and trying to get execution. And Saturday, April 15th, will be about executing and seeing exactly what it is that Nebraska football has in its cupboard. What does it have? Does it have what's required for them to be the version of themselves that these coaches are comfortable with? Do they have enough for the players to feel confident in the work that they put in, or the players knowing that more work is required over the course of this time? And generally the answer is always yes to it. But the degrees of knowing and the degrees of work that are required, you'll find out April 15th, and then it'll show up April 22nd at Memorial Stadium. These players are really trying to push themselves and to find out, okay, where do I stand? Where do I currently stand? Am I the guy? Am I good enough to be the guy? Do they trust me enough to be the guy? And then they'll find out, do my teammates trust me? Do they believe in me? Do I believe in myself? And then the coaches will look and see, okay, the work that's being done is actually showing up. Do they have to change the way that they're doing their work? Do they have to train what they're asking players to do? Do they have players in the wrong positions? And do they have enough talent to be the version of themselves that they've committed to? I'm telling you, it's a busy time, and it's kind of insane to think about. But we'll go to break, and when we come back, we'll talk about some of the stories. Who are some of the players that we're going to talk about after April 15th up to April 22nd, because it's time to know who the guys are. Stay tuned. More Locked On Huskers. Hey, gang, thank you for joining us on Locked On Huskers, for making Locked On Huskers your first watch and listen each and every day. The second should be Locked On NFL Draft. And through that, an awareness of what's going on in those first 64 picks of the NFL. Now, for the Huskers, that story would be, where does Trey Palmer go? Does he make it in the second round? Is it third round? Who's actually going to go? We've got some conversation pieces future ahead in the week, talking about some of those teams that have actually reached out about him. But the 64 spots is what we're going to talk about. You can find that content on YouTube or however else you consume your podcast. We're talking about April 22nd spring game, and then because of that, April 15th, Saturday, April 15th, you have to be aware that the scrimmage that happens there will be in the GPS of, this is where we are. It'll help identify and confirm the players who Nebraska coaches feel like can lead them and be the version of the 2023 team that they want. It'll tell the coaches whether they're good enough at the positions. Are the lessons landing? Is the install good enough? Is the coaching, the teaching, and the educating, is it landing? Are the players accepting it? Are they strong enough? Are they fast enough? Is this thing going to go in the direction we want it to go? And this is where, as they said, rubber meets the road. So we'll find out whether at the quarterback position in live play, we'll get to see on the 15th, you'll know who the first quarterback on the field is. My guess is that it's Jeff Sims. That Sims, and again, this is not pushing forward to August and Minnesota. This is just for the day and the reps of what they're doing that day. Who do you want to see? And if you're seeing best against best, then I would think that when you go and get a quarterback, and that quarterback position is unique, that when you go and get that quarterback, you're literally giving the keys to your program to somebody. And they are responsible for being the thing that makes that thing go. They become the face of the program. They become the voice of the program. They become the pace setter and the standard setter for the program. And if you're talking about this group, a deep group, the room's full. But if it's my guess that Jeff Sims takes the first, and then we'll get to see who's running back number one. Who's the first running back behind that offensive line? How does the offensive line line up? And if everybody's healthy, who's available? And I'm not talking about Teddy Prohaska, and I'm not there's some folks that I'm not sure are going to be ready on Saturday, this Saturday or the next Saturday. But this is the measuring. And then you get to teeter a little bit with the combinations. Some of that is reps. Some of that is just chemistry. Some of that is just rotation. Who are the first tight ends up? How many tight ends are being used on a regular basis? What's the play count for one tight end sets? 2 tight end sets? 3 tight end sets? Will Husker Nation throw confetti in the air with the confirmation of reports that Nebraska has multiple sets with fullbacks? They will throw confetti in the air and have a parade down O Street. Who are those leaders at that position? And how are they going to be used? What's the receiver combination? Who are the first ones out? We would imagine that Marcus Washington is either receiver 1A or 1B. But trust is a thing that matters in spring games and through spring practice. So I will say, what if the 60-catch, 70-catch Billy Kemp is receiver 1? What if Isaiah Garcia-Castaneda is receiver 1? What does that say about the offense? What does that say about what they want to do? What does that say about Marcus Satterfield and what the expectation of is what if it's Joshua Fleeks? Somebody that Garrett McGuire, the receivers coach, is very familiar with and comfortable with. They speak the same language. They work from the same system. So you can't be shocked or surprised that, he gets more reps because trust has been earned. Well, who's running back 1? Is it Gabe Urban? Is it Anthony Grant? Wait a minute, what are we doing? Is it Ramir Johnson? Who, again, somebody that coaches have talked about in full. And if coaches are mentioning players often, it's for a reason. It means that it's landed. So as fans, I'll ask you, what are you looking for? What I'm looking for is I want to see Jeff Sims because I'm familiar enough with Logan Smothers, Chubba Purdy, Heinrich Harburg, and Rich Torres. I've seen them enough to know what it is. Now, to see them live against best, we haven't had that ability so far this season. I want to see the running backs. I want to see who comes out where. What sort of rotation is there? And then what play calls are favored with each player. Because you're not going to always feature the same players under the different schemes. How are the tight ends going to be used? Who are the blocking receivers? Who are the receivers who are going to be put out there? What's the expectation for Xavier Betts? What are we expecting from Xavier? We saw him under Scott Frost. We saw him under previous regimes. What do we expect from him in the return? I don't know. I'm more than curious. I really am, because I don't in my head I can see South Carolina's offense, but I'm not sure that this Nebraska roster has Nebraska talent, has South Carolina talent. I mean, there's an NFL quarterback type playing down in South Carolina. Dude put up ridiculous numbers. Now, not to say that that's not Jeff Sims, but we're going to see. Like I said, they're going to scrimmage each other Saturday 15th, and then the 22nd, they'll hold a little party, and we'll all be invited. And there'll be different eyes to it, and there'll be different perspectives. My question is, who are your eyes to? We'll jump to the defensive side of the ball, and I got to tell you, as much as anything else, the rotation, the play calling, the schemes that'll be used on the defensive side of the ball when you're shorthanded, especially on the defensive fronts, and you've got a room full of linebackers that all want to make plays and all want to get seen and all want to get more known to Husker Nation. How are they going to line up on defense? We'll talk about that when we close out Locked On Huskers. Hey, gang. Thank you for joining Locked On Huskers once again. I greatly appreciate you making it first watch and listen each and every single day. And again, do me a favor, subscribe, like, share. We'll get the content delivered to you so that you don't have to do the search. We're talking about the things, the stories that we're kind of paying attention to, and some of the players that we're curious about. I just want to say that through all of the discussion, most of the discussion for this defensive group has been about linebackers, edge setters. I mean, for all the discussion, I haven't heard much conversation about Nick Heinrich. Not at practice, not in the community. Nope. I haven't heard much conversation about Luke Reimer. Those aren't the names that Tony White and his staff are putting out there. And again, it doesn't mean that's the beauty and the wisdom of April 15th and April 22nd is that they will get to work and actually play football Saturday, April 15th, and then we'll play football again in a practice form with public eyes on April 22nd. And April 22nd will be an accumulation of a lot of things all the way up to April 15th. Players who are healthy, players who have put in the work, players who have assimilated themselves, folks that have found comfort in what Tony White is asking defensively and whether they're able to pick it up and then move from it. But we're not sure what the lineup's going to be. It's a room with 7 linebackers / boundary setters, edge setters, who all have to work and prepare from the idea and thinking that they're starters, and that's why they're here. They're here to make an impact. And the rotation is good. The fact that you have that kind of depth at the position is wonderful. But do you have the kind of depth that's going to help you win in the Big Ten in the regular season? And who are those people? Saturday, April 15th, Saturday, April 22nd is when trust is earned in public. And it's important. The type of practice, the type of scrimmage, the type of exhibition that they hold to April 15th, and then whatever they do next Saturday, April 22nd. Some of it will be based on seeing certain players in certain situations and scenarios. Some of it will be because there's limited number of players at a position or in a group, and there's no way to give them full reps. Because if you're going to scrimmage, if there's 100 offensive plays, you better have people who can split that up. 5 offensive linemen at a time, in some cases 2 or 3 defensive linemen at a time. Sometimes rotating linebackers to get them in and have them stand up and play just to see what it is. But I'm curious about the play calling. I'm curious about the depth. I'm curious about the leadership. I'm looking forward to finding out in live form, not in practice form, but in live form, who are the playmakers, right? We'll get to see special teams. We'll get to see who the returners are. We'll get to get comfortable again, with the special teams, and we'll get to see how Coach Foley wants this thing to run. We'll see Tony White. We'll see Marcus Satterfield, and they'll be in public. It's going to be super interesting. That's Locked On Huskers, let me tell you. Husker Nation, it's going to be a crazy 2 weeks. I'm just telling you to buckle up, because transfer portal, scrimmages, folks coming in, folks coming out, going out. That's all the craziness that is Division I football in 2023, and we are about to dive in the deep end of the pool. It's going to be one heck of a ride. Again, thank you for making Locked On Huskers your first watch and listen each and every day. For you everydayers, thank you for being in and hanging out with me each and every day. Again, your team every day. That's what Locked On Huskers is. That's your first listen and watch each and every day. I want to thank you for making. You should make Locked On NFL Draft your second watch. Get into it. It'll take you through the draft. Draft's right around the corner. Let's find out where these Huskers are going to go. You'll get more information as we go along. You can find it on YouTube or however else you consume your podcast. We'll close with the 3 words we love so much. Go